The station called Lithian Gate floated between three star systems, like a quiet thought that refused to leave. It was old, older than many of the species that now used it, and its metal walls carried the soft glow of thousands of languages spoken and forgotten. Today it hosted The Gathering, an event so rare that even stars seemed to pause to listen. Delegates arrived in waves. Some arrived wrapped in living armor that shifted with their breath. Others carried staffs that hummed with contained power. A few came surrounded by attendants and drones, each one a reminder of wealth, strength, or danger. On Lithian Gate, appearances were not decoration. They were statements. That was why many noticed the human immediately. He arrived alone. No guards walked beside him. No visible weapons rested at his side. No glowing symbols marked his rank. He wore simple dark clothing, fitted for movement, but plain enough to vanish into a crowd. His hands were empty, open, relaxed. When the station scanners passed over him, they found nothing worth reporting. Several observers exchanged looks. A Threxian noble tilted his crested head. Is that truly the human representative? An Aurelian diplomat adjusted her light-shifting mantle. It must be. Their records say he insisted on coming without escort. Either brave, someone muttered, or foolish. The human did not react to the whispers. He walked at an easy pace, eyes moving but never darting, taking in the station with the calm interest of someone entering a familiar place. His posture was loose, but not careless. Each step was measured, balanced, as if he always knew exactly where his weight rested. From an elevated platform near the central hall, Princess Seralith watched him arrive. She had been trained since childhood to read strength. On her world, power was not hidden. It was shown openly. Polished and perfected, leaders wore their might like a crown, and those without visible strength were expected to kneel. Yet the human did neither. Seralith leaned forward slightly, her silver eyes narrowing. He did not carry himself like prey, nor like a warrior eager to prove himself. There was no tension in his shoulders, no stiffness in his movements. It was as if danger was a story he had already heard and finished. "Who is he?" she asked, softly. Her advisor, a tall being with layered skin and glowing markings, checked a data slate. Name designation: Elias Morgan. Role: Human Cultural Envoy and Security Consultant. Security? She repeated, almost amused. With nothing in his hands? Yes, your radiance. She watched as Elias paused near the entrance of the hall, letting a larger delegation pass before him. A small courtesy, easily missed, but it caught her attention. Strength that made room for others was unfamiliar. The gathering began with ritual, as it always did. The Hall of Voices opened its central space, and the delegates formed a wide circle. Above them, the ceiling shifted to show slow-moving stars, a reminder of what waited beyond words. A soft tone echoed, signaling the trial of presence. The trial was not combat, though many outsiders misunderstood it. It was a test of awareness, control, and response. Participants would cross a shifting field of light and force, reacting to changing conditions designed to reveal panic, reliance, or composure. No one could be harmed. But many had failed. One by one, representatives stepped forward. A scaled warrior used his natural armor to push through, relying on instinct more than thought. A machine-bound envoy calculated every step, moving perfectly until the field changed unpredictably, forcing a pause. Applause followed each attempt, polite and measured. When Elias's turn came, there was a moment of silence. He stepped into the field without hesitation. The light shifted beneath his feet, becoming unstable, like standing on water that could not decide which way to flow. Many participants stiffened at this stage. Elias did not. He bent his knees slightly, adjusted his stance, and breathed out, slowly. The field reacted. Shapes formed around him, not obstacles, but suggestions, paths that vanished if trusted too much. He moved with small steps, sometimes stopping completely, sometimes changing direction for no visible reason. To some, it looked like hesitation. Seralith leaned closer. He was not guessing, he was listening. The field responded to tension, to expectation. Those who tried to dominate it were resisted. Those who feared it were overwhelmed. Elias treated it like a conversation. When it pushed, he yielded just enough. When it opened, he moved. At one point, the light beneath him shifted sharply, a common moment where participants lost balance. Elias stepped forward instead of back, letting the motion carry him into stability. It was not flashy, it was effective. Around the circle, murmurs began. He adapts quickly. He does not rush. He does not rely on tools. Seralith felt something tighten in her chest, an unfamiliar feeling that was not fear, yet not comfort either. It was the sense of watching a door open where no door had been before. When Elias reached the end of the field, the tone sounded again. Completion. There was applause, louder this time, though still restrained. Elias gave a small nod to the circle, not a bow, not a salute, just acknowledgement. As he stepped back into the group, Seralith realized something that sent a quiet chill through her. He had never looked at the field like it was an enemy. Later, during the social exchange, she watched him from across the hall. He spoke with delegates of species far older than his own, asking questions more than making statements. When praised, he redirected the attention. When challenged, he smiled, not sharply, but with genuine interest. His humor was light, often self-directed, never cutting. A Varnak emissary tested him openly. Humans are known for conflict. Why arrive unarmed? Elias shrugged. I wasn't invited to fight, and if someone wished to test you, then I'd hope they'd be honest about what they want to learn. The answer unsettled more than it satisfied. Seralith finally approached him, her presence drawing subtle shifts in the room. Elias noticed immediately, turning to face her without surprise. Princess Seralith, he said, inclining his head. An honor. You knew who I was, she observed. It's part of my job to pay attention, he replied. She studied him closely now. Up close, he looked softer than many warriors she knew. No hardened plates, no sharp edges, but his eyes were clear, focused, carrying the weight of experience without bitterness. You crossed the trial with no tools, she said. Why? He considered the question. Tools are useful, he said carefully, but sometimes they speak louder than you want them to. And what did you want the trial to hear? That I was listening. For a moment, she forgot the room, the station, the watching eyes. She felt something shift inside her, a small crack in a belief she had never questioned. Strength, she realized, could be quiet. As they spoke, her advisor watched from a distance, unease growing. Others noticed too. The human was not dominating the room. He was changing it. When the gathering moved toward its closing phase, Seralith found herself watching Elias one last time as he prepared to leave the hall. He still carried nothing, yet somehow the space around him felt fuller than before. She turned to her advisor, her voice low. Why does the human look like he's already won?
The advisor hesitated, then answered honestly,
Because your radiance. He does not seem afraid of losing. And as Elias stepped into the corridor beyond the Hall of Voices, unaware of the thoughts following him, the station continued its slow orbit, carrying with it the quiet beginning of something no one had planned for. The corridor beyond the Hall of Voices was quieter than the gathering space, but not empty. Light panels glowed softly along the walls, shifting color with each passing group. Elias walked alone, hands still loose at his sides, his pace unhurried. The air felt different here, less ceremonial, more honest. He did not know that several eyes followed him through hidden sensors. Princess Seralith returned to her private chamber later than planned. The room was shaped like a living curve, smooth walls reflecting soft starlight from the wide viewport. Normally, the sight calmed her. Tonight, it did not. Her mind replayed the image of the human crossing the trial. Not the movements themselves, but the way he had done them. Calm, aware. As if danger was a language he spoke fluently, yet chose not to use loudly. Her advisor, Calorix, stood nearby, silent but alert. "You disapprove," she said without turning. "I am concerned," Calorix replied carefully. "Humans have a history of instability." "So do we," Seralith said. "Yet, we are trusted." Calix paused. "The difference is that we show our power." Seralith turned then, her gaze sharp. "And what did you see in him today?" Calix hesitated longer this time. "Restraint?" Seralith nodded slowly. "That is what frightens you." Calix did not deny it. The next cycle brought the cultural exchange session, a quieter part of the gathering where words carried more weight than displays. Small groups gathered in open chambers, sharing values, stories, and traditions. It was meant to build understanding. Often it revealed cracks instead. Elias was assigned to a mixed group of 5 species. He took a seat that placed him neither at the center nor the edge. When introductions began, he listened more than he spoke. When it was his turn, he kept it simple. "I'm Elias," he said. "I help humans avoid misunderstandings." One of the delegates, a tall being with crystalline limbs, tilted its head. "By force?" "By listening," Elias answered. There was a pause. Princess Seralith entered the chamber quietly and took a position where she could observe without interrupting. Elias noticed her presence but did not change his posture. That alone told her much. The discussion turned to conflict resolution. Many spoke of deterrence, of showing strength to prevent challenge. When Elias was asked for the human approach, he did not give a speech. "We try to remember," he said, "that most conflicts start because someone feels unheard." "And if they refuse to listen?" asked another delegate. "Then we decide how much damage we're willing to live with," Elias replied. "Winning isn't useful if it costs everything else." The simplicity of the answer unsettled the room. Later, as the session ended, Seralith approached him again, this time without formal announcement. "You speak as if survival is a shared task," she said. Elias smiled faintly. "It usually is." They walked together through a wide passage overlooking the station's inner ring. Ships drifted slowly beyond the transparent barrier, their lights blinking like distant thoughts. "My people believe strength must be visible," Seralith said. "Hidden strength is considered weakness." Elias considered this. "On Earth, hidden strength is often survival." She stopped walking. "You speak as if your world is always at risk." "It has been," he said simply, "from nature, from ourselves, from misunderstanding." She studied his face, searching for pride, or regret, or anger. She found none. Only acceptance. "Does that not make you tired?" she asked. "Sometimes," Elias admitted. "That's why we value peace. Not because it's easy. Not because it's easy, because it lets us rest." The words stayed with her longer than she expected. Elsewhere on the station, conversations were shifting. Reports circulated quietly. The human envoy had influenced discussions without authority. Delegates found themselves reconsidering positions, adjusting language, questioning old assumptions. No threats had been made, no demands given. That worried many. A closed council formed among several high-ranking species. Seralith was invited, though the tone was tense. "The human presence is disruptive," one counselor stated. "Not through aggression, but through influence. He has broken no rules," Seralith replied. "Rules are not the only danger," another said. "He makes others question the need for dominance." Seralith felt a familiar irritation. Is that not the purpose of gathering? Silence followed. After the council, Seralith sought Elias again. She found him in a quiet observation deck, watching a repair drone glide past a damaged panel. He seemed content to simply observe. "You are causing unease," she said. "I get that a lot," Elias replied lightly. "You do not deny it?" "No," he said. "Change feels like loss before it feels like growth." She stepped closer. "Do humans plan this? This influence?" Elias turned to face her fully now. "We plan to survive. Sometimes that means adapting. Sometimes it means helping others adapt with us." She searched his expression. "And if they refuse, then we keep the door open," he said. "You can't force someone to walk through it." Seralith felt something stir again, that same quiet crack widening. That cycle ended with an unexpected announcement. A misunderstanding between two allied species had escalated into a diplomatic deadlock. Not violence, but something worse. Withdrawal. Trade, communication, shared systems, all threatened. The station's balance trembled. Several voices suggested enforcement, displays of power, pressure. Instead, one name surfaced repeatedly: the human. Elias was summoned, surprised but calm. He listened as the situation was explained. He asked questions. Many questions. He took no notes. When asked if he would intervene, he did not answer immediately. "I'll talk to them," he said finally. "But only if they want a solution, not a winner." Princess Seralith watched from the side, her heart beating faster than protocol allowed. As Elias left to begin the mediation, she realized something that unsettled her deeply. She trusted him, not because he was human, not because he was skilled, but because he never pretended to be more than he was. As the station lights dimmed to signal rest cycle, Seralith stood alone by the viewport, watching stars drift past. Her people taught that a strong partner was one who could conquer beside you. For the first time, she wondered what it would be like to stand beside someone who conquered nothing, yet changed everything. And somewhere in the quiet corridors of Lithian Gate, Elias Morgan spoke softly with rivals who had forgotten how to listen, unaware that his calm presence was reshaping not just alliances, but a princess's understanding of strength itself. The mediation chamber was not large, but it felt heavy with expectation. Two delegations sat across from each other, their postures stiff, their expressions guarded. Between them stood Elias, hands loosely folded behind his back, his face calm as if he were about to begin a casual conversation rather than untangle a crisis. Princess Seralith watched from a raised platform, along with several observers. She had insisted on being present, though she told herself it was for duty alone. The first delegation spoke sharply, listing grievances that stretched back generations. The second replied with equal precision, each word carefully chosen to wound without sounding like an attack. The air felt tight, as though one wrong sentence could snap everything apart. Elias did not interrupt. He listened. When both sides finally fell silent, waiting for judgment or suggestion, Elias spoke quietly. "You're both tired," he said. The statement caught them off guard. "You've been protecting the same fears for so long," he continued, "that you forgot what you were protecting in the first place." One delegate bristled. "You presume much, human." Elias nodded. "I do, because I've seen this before." He did not argue facts. He asked questions, simple ones. Yet, what was first lost? What was first feared? When did defense become habit instead of necessity? Slowly, tension shifted, not vanished, but softened. Voices lowered, postures eased. Seralith felt her breath slow without realizing it. Hours passed. When the session ended, there was no grand agreement, no dramatic resolution. But there was something far more fragile and valuable: willingness. As the delegations left, quieter now, Seralith descended from her platform and approached Elias. You did not force them, she said. I couldn't, Elias replied. They had to choose. And if they choose wrong, then they learn, he said gently. So do we. They walked together through the station's inner gardens, where engineered plants glowed faintly, their shapes influenced by dozens of worlds. The space was peaceful, meant to remind visitors of home, though Sarilith had rarely noticed it before. You risked much today, she said. Elias shrugged slightly. Only my reputation. And that does not matter to you? It matters, he admitted, just not more than people. She studied him again, as she had so many times, but now her thoughts felt different, less curious, more personal. Her advisor Calyrex approached later, once Elias had departed. You are becoming attached, Calyrex said carefully. Sarilith did not deny it. I am becoming aware.
Of danger? Of possibility. Calix's markings dimmed slightly. Your people expect strength in a partner. They expect certainty, Sarilith replied.
I am no longer certain of what strength truly is. That cycle, Sarilith requested a private audience with Elias under the pretense of cultural study. Protocol allowed it, though whispers followed. They met in a quiet chamber overlooking the stars. No guards. No formal seating. You could have refused, Elias said. I could have, she replied. You could have asked for protection. I rarely do. They stood side by side, gazing at distant lights. My people measure worth by what one can defeat, Sarilith said. I was taught that from the moment I could understand words. And now? Elias asked. And now I see someone who defeats nothing, she said softly, yet changes everything around him. He turned to her then, surprised by the intensity in her voice. You make it sound intentional, he said. Is it not? Elias considered. Humans learned long ago that if we try to dominate everything, we end up alone. Her voice dropped. My people fear being alone more than losing power. That's understandable, he said. So do mine. Silence settled between them. Not uncomfortable, but full. Sarilith felt something press against her chest, a feeling she had avoided naming. She had been trained to lead, to command, to decide quickly. This feeling asked her to pause. You confuse me, she admitted. Elias smiled, gentle. I get that too. Over the next cycles, their meetings became more frequent. Always appropriate, always restrained. Yet each conversation stripped away another layer of formality. Elias spoke of Earth, not as a proud world, but as a struggling one, of oceans and storms, of fragile systems held together by cooperation and hope. He spoke of humans arguing, failing, learning. Sarilith spoke of her people's rigid traditions, of expectations placed upon her before she understood herself, of the loneliness of being admired, but never truly known. One cycle, as they walked the outer ring, alarms briefly sounded. A system failure, minor but disruptive. Lights flickered. Several delegates reacted with panic, calling for security, for displays of control. Elias simply steadied himself, observing. Technicians resolved the issue within minutes. No harm done, but Sarilith noticed something again. While others reacted to fear, Elias reacted to uncertainty with patience. Later that cycle, political pressure mounted. Some council members demanded Sarilith distance herself from the human. Others suggested his influence was too great, too subtle, to allow. He bends outcomes without authority, one elder warned. That is dangerous. Sarilith replied calmly. He reveals choices we refuse to see. Privately, doubt crept in. She stood before the ceremonial mirror in her chamber, studying the symbols of her rank. They had always felt heavy. Now they felt incomplete. When she next met Elias, she spoke without preparation. My people choose partners through trials of dominance, she said. He blinked. That sounds stressful. She almost laughed. It is efficient. But it leaves little room for gentleness. And you value gentleness? She looked at him directly. I did not know I could. The silence stretched. Seralith felt the weight of her position, her people, her future, pressing down. Yet beneath it all was a simple truth she could no longer ignore. She had never felt safer than when standing beside an unarmed human. Her voice trembled only slightly as she spoke. How I wish you were my husband. The words hung between them, fragile and powerful. Elias did not respond immediately. For the first time since she had met him, he looked uncertain, not afraid, but careful, and that, more than any immediate answer, told Seralith that whatever came next would not be easy, simple, or bound by tradition. It would be chosen. And as the stars drifted silently beyond the station walls, the future shifted, not with force, but with a quiet, human pause.